Welcome to the New Author
Technology.
Podcast.
It's an amazing thing.
A weekly podcast diary starring Jerry Evanoff and Rich Kacy. Join them weekly as they talk about writing, publishing, and marketing their books. And now, here are your hosts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the New Author Podcast. Today is Sunday, March 23rd, 2025. Episode number 303. I am one of those this podcast, Jerry Evanoff, and which with me, as he is each week, is Rich Kacy. Rich, how are you?
Well, I'm wide awake now, given the volume on that intro. So,
I turned it down too.
Oh, really?
Wow. Yeah.
I imagine everybody went whoop like that.
Well, the nice thing about this Riverside.fm is it'll kind of equal out all the sound.
Oh, that's true.
When I produce it, so no one's going to know that you just had your eardrums blasted
That's
out.
True.
Unless they check the look on your face. So
yeah.
But anything exciting going on?
No, other than that, it's been good. I mean, we've finally broken into real spring. I mean, no more cold weather for us at all at night. We had 38 degrees, I think it was Monday or Tuesday morning, and then that's going to be it for till probably November, December.
Yeah. It's nice.
So yeah, it's everything's blooming. The bugs are coming out. Mosquitoes are already on the rampage. So.
And we had frost this morning. But it's okay because it wasn't snow and there's no snow. I think it tried to snow. I think it was Friday night or maybe it was yesterday afternoon. It tried to snow, but it couldn't make it. So.
I talked to my mom yesterday and she said she woke up in the morning and it was snowing in Detroit. So
yeah, that seems about right. All right, let me jump into my stats here and we'll get into our week. Let's see. My goal last week was 7,500 words, and that's based on the math, and I missed it by a ton. I have reasons. I worked every day on the book or on the author career. Basically, I didn't write every day. I only wrote 2 days out of the 6 I think I had scheduled. So we'll talk about why, because I feel like it's an interesting story, but it's about me, so I'm going to think that.
So you're always interested in that.
I'm always interested. Yeah. If I'm not interested, then we really have a problem. My first draft of book 6, which of now I am calling done. It's up exactly 3,500 words, 29,873. Still a couple chapters left. I didn't finish it all, but I made some pretty significant changes that I just didn't want to deal with the minutia of until I get into the next revision. So that's why I'm calling it done. And we'll talk about that in a while. But, my total for the year on my quest for 145,000 words is 38,867. And my words per hour is actually up a few words to 1,220.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. For me, it's been kind of a slow week writing wise. I completed 3 more chapters editing on that romance number 1 that I've been working on. I'm down just about 1,000 words, a little over 1,000 in that over those 3 chapters. And I'm now sitting at 60,660 on that story. I did pick up a single follower on Blue Sky. So I'm now at an even 300, which is a lot better than 299. Someday I'll actually get back to pushing that channel, but I haven't been doing anything with it for about the last month, other than promoting other people's channels by doing a lot of commenting and stuff on theirs. So for some reason, I find that easier than actually putting my own stuff out there. And then the big reason why that I only got 3 chapters editing done when I was actually targeting 10 is that midweek, I finally succumbed to the lure of working on that 3rd romance story. I put it off almost a month or maybe more. And that was pretty good for me. So I started doing some story development with, between me and, Sonnet. And, I basically made it through developing a premise and the characters and kind of have a bare bones outline that follows romancing the beat 4-act structure. So I got to do a few more things before I can actually start. Well, actually quite a few more things before I actually start writing. I got to develop my locations better. I have to have a kind of flesh out some of those bones that I have on an outline so you have a better idea of where I'm going. And I'm, as in the first story, I'm kind of mixing 2 tropes, love triangle and redemption tropes together. Okay. So it'll be interesting to see what happens as I continue forward. I tell you what, I've been really enjoying working with Sonnet. I don't know if Sonnet, 3.5, I've used it before, and I don't recall it being quite this helpful.
Agree.
Yeah, helpful. So I don't know if they've done an upgrade to that. I know they've run out a different version, 3.7. I haven't tried that one, but maybe somehow they get backwardly updated as they they come out with the new versions.
I'm going to sing the praises of ChatGPT later for the same reason of new versions. But it's so funny that you mentioned that 300 is so much better than 299. I used to, my buddy that I used to golf with before he retired and moved to Myrtle Beach always used to tell me that 79 was 10 strokes better than 80.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of makes sense. So yeah. So all right. So jumping into my recap last week, Monday. Nothing exciting on this day. No writing related. I did work from home. It was St. Patrick's Day. I was a little disappointed when I checked the parking later on in the morning, and it was like $20. And I thought, boy, I would have paid $20 to park.
Yeah.
I expected to be like 40 or 50 for the parades and stuff that were going on in downtown Cleveland, but I decided I did stay home. I did decide also that I was going to take a full day PTO on Friday, which we'll certainly talk about the fun, the I don't know, the ironic sitcom that happened to me on Thursday and Friday in terms of these vacation days and work from home days, and whether I actually had to take them or not.
I'm really looking forward to that now.
Well, don't get too excited, but it's,
okay.
It's just with what happened where it turns out I actually didn't have to take any days off. I could have worked all week.
I was kind of thinking of maybe it was going to be a combination of like The Office and Taxi or something. I was wondering who Jim was going to be.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a Jim in this story. So nothing exciting. Again, I worked all day. And then in the evening, I made some dinner, played my football game, and went to bed pretty early because I knew I was getting up at 5 a.m. the next day. I did go to work the next day, and at lunch, I didn't do any writing. So this is where I really was thinking about how book 7.5 is going to end and how book 8 is going to begin. I want them to overlap, and I want them to make sense. I want it to be a to be continued, but I also don't want people to have to read book 7.5. If they start at book 8, it's fine. They won't miss anything important. They'll miss a few little things, but nothing that's going to be major to the story. So while I was there, I talked about this last week about how I wanted to change the name of my cover. I had bought those 3 cover, what do they call them? Pre-made covers from the guy at Go On Right, James at Go On Right. It turned out it was actually 2 years ago next month that I bought those, and I liked 2 of them, but the third one, the bunny, was the title I chose. I thought that'd be a fun code word that I could use in the story. Well, I thought as I'm plotting book 7.5 about a serial killer who turns out to be a professor, I thought the professor is a better name. So I emailed James at Go On Right. I looked at his website. I kind of think I've annoyed him in the past where I'll email him and say, hey, can you tell me how much this costs? And then he sends me the link on his site to where it says how much it costs. I feel like it's a little bit passive aggressive, but I don't know. Like, he seems like a nice guy in his emails. I don't know if I'm annoying him or not, but it happened again where I sent him an email. I just said, hey, I just looked all over your website. I'm on the order form. I can't find how much to pay or how to mark whatever on your order form. I just want a title change on the cover. I'm like, I'm happy to pay for it. I just can't figure it out. And he wrote back to me, and his sentence was something like, yeah, that is tough to find. And he sent me the link. And I'm like, wait, is it tough to find, or was he just kind of being a smart ass? I don't know. I think this one was tough to find. But anyway, it was $15 to do. And it was $17. It was 20 pounds, maybe it was $17, something like that. And so I immediately ordered it, paid for it.
Yeah, it would be the other way around. Pounds are more valuable. So if it was 20 pounds, it'd be like $25.
Okay, so it was probably $15, which was 17 pounds, I guess.
No, it'd be, pounds are more valuable. So if it was 15 pounds, if it was 15 pounds, it would be, yeah, there you go.
That's what it was. So it's 15 pounds, $17. Yeah. So I sent it to him, and immediately, within 10 minutes, he had sent me back the cover changed.
Oh, wow.
And I said, good for you for making approximately 15 times, I don't know, 15 times 8, $100 an hour. Yeah. I like that. I like the entrepreneurship of that. But it's great. It's fantastic. I'm very happy that I was able to send it and get it immediately uploaded into Novel Crafter, into the place where I'm writing this book, and got it ready. That was nice. So by the time that lunch was over, I had a really good summary for book 7.5, including the timing of where everything happens and how it kind of crosses over with all my earlier books. I made notes in my plot. In book 2, this happens, and then it correlates with something that happens in book 7.5, something like that. Again, one of my favorite Star Wars books of all time that I'm sure no one who's listening has ever read is called Lost Stars. It's a love story. It's a Hallmark movie inside the Star Wars universe that does not have a happy ending, but it's fantastic. The characters are great, and what it does is it crosses over with all 3 of the first 3 movies of Star Wars. So you see all the events that happen, but you see them from different angles. For example, the main character Guy, he is in the final fight in Return of the Jedi. He's one of the starship pilots, and he's flying around it. So you hear Admiral Akbar over his radio say it's a trap, all that stuff. And I love that. I love that you're beside the main story, but you're interacting with it. I love that. So that's what I'm trying to do. I don't know if I mentioned, I think the first time I ever encountered that in my life was when I read Net Force by Tom Clancy. Like when I was still a teenager, I'm sure. Maybe, yeah, I think I was still a teenager, where there's a scene where the bad guy is walking down a sidewalk and he's talking about the people that he's passing. He passes the general who is his enemy, and he knows who the general is. And the previous chapter, the general had been walking down the same sidewalk and he passed the bad guy, describing him, but not knowing he was actually the bad guy. And I thought, that's cool. The reader knows something and the good guy doesn't know it. That was so cool. So I love that. So I'm trying to do that with this novella. So I really had an act 1, act 2, act 3 spelled out. I had I didn't have anything in chapters yet. I just had the plot points for each one and then how it worked with each of the other stories that I've written. Very happy with that. And then as I was looking at book 8, I started thinking about how do I want the POV. So in my first 7 books, there might be one chapter at the very beginning from the victim's point of view before they get killed, or book 5 has an epilogue at the very end it was from the serial killer's point of view, but I'm going to change that. So, but other than that, everything is from Sam's point of view. Every chapter of every book, except maybe a beginning chapter, is from Sam's point of view. And it's like, boy, I'm going to write this book 7.5. And, and that's going to be purely from the serial killer's point of view. When I get to book 8, do I want to do anything different? I'm curious your opinion on this. Do I want to do anything different? Do I just want to do it the same way as I did the first 7 and just keep it in Sam's point of view? Maybe have a first chapter from the killer's point of view and then go with Sam the rest of the way? Or do I want to switch back and forth a little bit? I don't know. What do you think? If you were a reader and you read the first 7 and then went to 8, would you have expectations for how it was going to be set up?
I may have missed it. You're writing in third person though here, right?
Yeah, it's all third person. Yeah.
See, I'm struggling. I'm not struggling, but I'm thinking about the same thing for my romance, this new one, because there's, given the way the story is going to develop, love triangle, I really need to have 3 POVs in there. But I don't like 3 POVs. I don't really want to do that. I would prefer to just have it all from the female character, but then you can't get certain kinds of information to the reader of what's happening, behind the scenes that might be important in terms of the love triangle aspects. Especially since I have at least one scene that I know I want to do where one of the love interests is actually interacting with his sister and information is coming out about his past with the main character. So yeah, I don't, as long as it's in third person, I don't think it's going to be a big problem. And I know even in first person, and especially in romance, they hop heads between chapters all the time. So
it's funny that you say, well, third person, it's I was thinking about writing this book 7.5 in first person because it's the serial killer's point of view, and I feel like I want to be deep into his head. You can do that anyway in third person, but it's not as deep into his head as if you were first person. My very first book that I wrote, and I didn't know this was like a thing, but that science fiction time travel I wrote, let's say it's 55 chapters. About 15 of them are from the bad guy's point of view. We kind of go along both journeys as they collide near the end, and but it's mostly from the good guy's point of view. About maybe a third of it, maybe even 20% of it's from the bad guy's point of view. The good guy is all third person, and I did the bad guy in first person, just as I thought. Oh, interesting. It's deeper. Yeah, and that's I haven't got any complaints on it. But I didn't know that was like a big deal. That was like before I was studying craft a whole lot and heard of head hopping and point of view and all that stuff. I just did it because I liked how it sounded.
I'm trying to think if I've ever read a book like that, and I'm not sure I have. I can't think of it right offhand.
That makes me nervous, or I'm either nervous because I did it wrong, or I'm a trendsetter.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe it's hard to wrangle depending on what kind of story you're writing, but I guess it kind of makes sense in your case, the way you described it.
Yeah,
where if you want the reader to really get into the head of the serial killer or of the killer and be genuinely fearful for their victims, then that's probably a good way to do it.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do in terms of the point of view yet. I'm not sure. I did kind of come up with a decision though on book 8, what I wanted to do. And that was probably stay the same as books 1 through 7, where maybe the opening chapters from the serial killer's point of view, him killing someone. And then it goes to chapter 2, Ordinary World for Sam, where he starts to learn about the case and things like that. I think that's what I'm going to do. Now, again, I haven't plotted book 8 yet, but if that's kind of where I'm leaning. It could change, believe me. It could definitely change. But that's where I'm leaning. So Wednesday, back in the office. At lunch, I continued working through chapter 18 of book 6, which was proving to be a really long chapter, and it's going to get split into pieces. It's like 4 different scenes, and right now the only reason it's one chapter is because it's just one chapter because it's in the same chapter, 18 heading or whatever it is.
Right.
It's definitely more than one. I wrote 1,151 words in about 45 minutes, and then in the evening I made some dinner, and I had a fantasy baseball draft, and this is a league that I've been in for like 10, 15 years. It used to be a fantasy baseball auction. I think I might have talked about this last week. And instead of it being over at like 1 a.m. when I have to get up at 5 the next day, it was over at 10:45, and I took the day off, so I didn't have to be up at 5 anyway. So it worked out okay. I'm very happy with my team. I love drafting fantasy leagues. It's been really hard for me to not join any of the big money leagues for baseball this year. Like, I've looked at their menu over and over and just not join because I just love drafting so much. But then once you draft, you got to run the team, and that's
right.
the thing sometimes. So I went to bed around 10:45. Thursday was an off day. This is the day that I was going to go down to Pittsburgh with my buddy. And I went to Chick-fil-A first and continued working through chapter 18. And I did finish it finally. And I actually started chapter 19 at the same time. And the chapter ended up being 3,949 words. So it's definitely going to get split up once I go to edit it. And then I got a call from my buddy who said, we aren't going to Pittsburgh for some reasons I don't really want to get into on this podcast, but we are not going to Pittsburgh. That's okay.
Those outstanding warrants are a bitch.
Yeah. Oh, they're awful. Oh, yeah. For both of us. It's the weirdest thing. Yeah. So we ended up going to the local casino right around the corner from Chick-fil-A, where I usually go, and hung out there for a while. Because I was still waiting for him to tell me what we were going to do instead, I ended up starting chapter 19, or chapter, it's supposed to be 19, and I wrote 592 words in there. And so for the day, I got 2,349 words in just under 2 hours.
Nice.
Worked out pretty well. And then, well, we'll talk about chapter 19 in a minute. Then I want to talk about how my email through ChemiCloud works, which is the web server I have.
Mm-hmm.
For some odd reason on my laptop, I have Outlook set up and it refreshes all the time, but it actually doesn't download any email. I don't know why. I haven't gone in to look hard enough at why it's not working. But in order for me to go see my emails, I either have to wait a week or two when it decides to go ahead and just download all of them at once, or just go into ChemiCloud's online service and just see what I missed. So that's what I did. And wouldn't you know it, I got a response from James Flash. And I'm curious of your opinion of this response because it wasn't what I expected. I think it's because I wrote, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh my God, I wrote so many words. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 paragraphs.
Good.
Now, 3 of those paragraphs are literally one sentence, but the rest of them are, 3 or 4 sentences each. It's just me explaining my whole situation with everything I talk about in this podcast every week about how I'm writing, the first 9. I already published 1. I'm writing the rest of them before I publish. And really my question to him was, what do I do about a Facebook ad in order to gain followers before I'm ready to release book 2? That's what I didn't know. Like, he used it to get Facebook followers before he released book 1. So he had nothing to point them to other than a sign-up sheet. Well, my question is, do I point him to book 1? Do I do something else? Like, I did not know what to do. So that's what I asked him. So he responded to me a simple sentence. Said, "Hi, Jerry. Why don't you focus on getting books 2 and 3 ready to rapid release, then set up the novella into the series, and then work on books 4 through 9." And I thought when he wrote that, I was like, well, that's nothing like what I asked. Okay?
Right.
He didn't answer my question. But then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, actually, he kind of did answer my question. And up until about 2 hours ago, I misunderstood his answer. I may still be misunderstanding it. But in my head, I'm like, okay, what he's saying is I should finish book 9, the first draft, then go publish books 2 and 3 quickly, and then do the novella, and then use the novella to get people into book 1, which means they'll actually have something to buy, books 1, 2, and 3, which makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, his answer didn't literally say that. You had to interpolate. But
so then, as I opened it earlier to get ready for this podcast, not an hour ago, I just read it and went, "Wait, is he telling me to stop working on books 8 and 9 and just go right to 2 and 3?" So now I'm not sure what he's saying in here. I don't want to respond back because I just feel like I'm bothering people. So I don't want to respond back and be like, can you clarify? Like, or literally ask questions and not just say, can you clarify what you meant there? So I don't really know how to take this other than I think I'm on the right path to finish book 9's first draft, publish books 2 and 3 quickly, and then do the novella, and then go back and start editing 4 through 9.
Yeah. So read it again to me.
All right. Here's what it says. And I'll even give you the punctuation. There's a comma. Why don't you focus on getting books 2 and 3 ready to rapid release, comma, then set up the novella into the series and then work on books 4 through 9.
Yeah.
I can't tell if he's saying stop working on 8 and 9 right now and go to 2, or finish 9 and then go to 2.
Well, I think that's probably your preference, but I think he's saying that if you have 2 and 3 ready, actually published, 2 and 3 actually published or ready to publish, and then you complete the novella, then you do all that 2, 3, and the novella at one time. Use the novella, or use the novella to point to book 1, and then you can release 4 through 9 as you get them finished. That's what
that's kind of. Yeah. I'm not sure if that's what he's saying or not, but that's what I took from it, and that's what I'm going to do.
Well, really that would be consistent with everything that he said before, and that Mark Dawson has said, and the things they say on the Indie Writers Club podcast. Yeah, if you get 2, 3, or 4 books, 3 or 4 books in a series ready, done, and you can hit publish on them, get that lead magnet together, and then go ahead and hit publish and use the lead magnet to get interest in the series, and then work on the rest of it as you go.
I hit the ear thing again, and now the intro's in my head. I don't know why that keeps happening. I don't know what's happening. All I have to do is touch the headphone.
It's the voices in your head.
Oh, you mean it's not real? Oh, jeez, that's scary. All right, so that's how I took it, and that's what I'm going to do with it. And I'm grateful that he responded at all. I mean, I know that people like this are super busy, but it's you find in the indie world they're always happy to respond over probably the non-indie world, if you want to say. I remember when I wrote that email to, and I can't remember her name right now, but she's the one who did that the talk at 20 Books 2022 that I really enjoyed, and it didn't record. I was really disappointed that it didn't record, but I emailed her basically before I left Vegas, and she had responded to me almost immediately with just thanks and more advice. So the indie authors are always happy to respond.
To be honest, I interact more on Blue Sky, especially with a lot of trad published authors.
Oh, really?
And they're the same way. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, the author community, some of them I'm sure don't view indie publishing very well, but for the most part, authors are kind of agnostic about that kind of stuff.
Good.
Yeah,
that's good.
If you got questions or about process or about stuff, as long as it's not stupid questions like where do you get your ideas from?
Yeah, right. The Mystery Science Theater 3000 guys always make fun of people who ask how many times do you actually watch a movie. It's like we've only been asked that 7 billion times.
Yeah.
So we were at the casino for a couple hours. We were betting on the games, and it was fine. It wasn't. It wasn't what it was gonna be, but we still had a good time. Just me and my buddy Sean, we just hung out, and then I went down to play a slot machine. I put $100 in a machine. My buddy Sean, who doesn't like slot machines, sat down next to me, and he put a 20 in that machine. We're playing the same machine. I slowly lost my $100, and he hit multiple bonuses, and eventually cashed out $250. And I called them all kinds of names. Childish of me. Yeah. So then that was that. And then Thursday night, I just kind of watched basketball, nothing major. Friday, again, another day off work, and back to Chick-fil-A. It was funny. So what happened was with my vacation days is we didn't do what we were planning on doing. And what we did was fine. But, if we didn't do it, it would have been the end of the world. And I probably didn't have to take all those days off. Mm-hmm. But we couldn't go to Pittsburgh. I don't want to get into why. I'll tell you after we stop.
Okay.
So then, so on Friday, back to Chick-fil-A, and I began to write a little bit more of chapter 19. I don't even know how many words. It wasn't very many words. But I got to this point where I really didn't like where the story was going in terms of how Sam, my main character, worked out, who did it, and how. And I just started kind of talking to ChatGPT about it, looking for more suggestions, kind of coming up with some stuff on my own, kind of going back and forth with with the chat about that. And I ended up completely changing one of the murderers. There's only one murderer in this book of 2 victims. I changed it so there's 2 murderers. Each murders 1 victim for completely different reasons. And they're kind of connected, but not really. And Sam's going to have to figure this out.
Huh.
I also made it a local policeman who was one of the murderers, and I didn't really work him into the book much early on. Mm-hmm. So I started making notes. And I talked to ChatGPT about the why this person did. Give me their background. Tell me more about them. And then it's such a great back and forth with ChatGPT. I love it so much when you can just go back and forth with it about stuff. And I decided I did not want to get into going back into all these different chapters and making changes. So instead I just made notes in the sidebar of every chapter with what I had to change. I updated my story grid so that I had notes in there with the things I wanted to change. And by the time I was done, I really just had a bunch of notes, nothing major. I didn't do no rewrites. And I really just wanted to call it done. I didn't want to get into it any more than that because I figured it would probably take me another couple of weeks of that. And that's what I'm going to do when I edit anyway. So I just just wanted to move on to the next one. Shiny thing. I just want to move on to the next one.
It just occurred to me while you're talking. I bet you if you look back through the past history of all court cases, you'd find statistically that it's impossible for a policeman to murder anybody.
Oh, okay. I don't know about that, but okay.
Because it seems like they're always acquitted. So.
Well, this one isn't a on duty type of thing.
Oh, I see. Okay.
This is a personal matter between him and the person who gets murdered. So.
Okay.
It's funny. I actually took the personal matter of the first killer and just put it on top of the second killer instead for a little bit different reasons. But that's kind of what I did with it. I'm really happy with the way the character turned out now. Yeah. I'm gonna sing the praises of ChatGPT when I get to Saturday. But in terms of just coming up with character, you said you were using Sonnet earlier. ChatGPT has been great. Just the OpenAI has been great at giving me like backgrounds that are detailed that I can kind of manipulate to what I want. Its memory is a lot better. Like it's been great so far.
Yeah, I think the only reason why I use Sonnet as opposed to ChatGPT, I believe it's, and I'm going to say this and it's probably wrong, it's got a bigger context window. I know the Sonnet now has a 200,000 token context window. So you could basically go back and forth all day, and in theory, it's going to remember everything. Now, in practice, using the Rexy inside of the Future Fiction Academy, that their I guess you would call it their GPT, is you can there are buttons where you can just save out the responses that you get back from the LLM, and then at different points during your conversation with the LLM, you can feed it back this information just with a click of just by reference.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
You don't have to actually, you don't have to cut and paste. All you have to, they're saved out into what quote unquote containers, and then you just have to reference the container name, and it'll,
that's nice.
Fit the whole thing.
Yeah. So, this was, what day was this? This was Saturday, right? Oh, this was Friday. Okay.
Yeah, Friday.
Yeah, so that was Friday. Just again, by the end of the day, I was like, okay, I think I'm done. I think I'm done with book 6 for now. I'll go back when I get into the editing and really rework a lot of this. But for now, I just want to move on to the next thing. So on yesterday, Saturday, went to Panera. I didn't want to go to Chick-fil-A 3 days in a row. I'm always so self-conscious about walking into a restaurant and having them say my name and order, give me my order before I say it. Like, it just bugs me. It shouldn't, but it does. So I went to Panera, and I can't wait till golf starts because I don't have to do Panera anymore. I don't like Panera. But I went there and I did some more note taking on my new villain for book 6 and how the murderers and victims fit together. Really just kept going with it. And then finally, this is where I actually called it a first draft Saturday morning. About 4 chapters to go. I didn't want to get into the editing of this. I just wanted to move on, like I said. So when I got home, I had a lot of things, Rich. So many things on my list that I wanted to do. And I literally did none of them. Instead, I sat down on my computer at like 12:30 and didn't get up until 7, other than to eat or go to the bathroom or go get my dog. I play my APBA football game, and there's an app that I use, or it's a Windows program actually that I use called Pro Football Helper that some guy wrote a long time ago. And it's a really easy way to keep stats while you're playing the game. This has always been the big hassle for me when it comes to playing this game, because I don't want to play this game unless I get stats. I love statistics. I love to see box scores, all that stuff. And And this Pro Football Helper makes it really, really easy to use while you're playing the game. You're just clicking who ran the ball, how many yards they got, and then it moves the down and distance by itself. The guy who wrote it, sadly he died a couple of years ago, but it's a great program. I mean, he accounted for every single possible thing that can happen in football, and it's a simple Windows Forms app. Looks like a Visual Basic 6 app. I mean, it looks old, but it's fantastic. Well, I bought a basketball game about 3 or 4 months ago that I really want to play. I bought the 1992 card set, which has the Cleveland Cavaliers of when I was a huge fan of like Mark Price and Brad Daugherty and Larry Nance and Craig Elo. I loved the Cavaliers back then. I don't really love them like I used to when I was a kid. But I really want to play with these cards the same way that I play football. And there's no stat program for football. So I sat down at the computer. Oh, you see where this is going?
I see a black hole coming. Yep.
Oh boy. I sat down on the computer. I opened up my Visual Studio Code, which is the app I use to write JavaScript code. And I went into ChatGPT, and literally ChatGPT wrote this thing for me all day. I did very little of code writing on my own. And it did start to worry me about my job sometime in the future, because it's a lot better than it was when I went to make my author website a year and a half ago. It remembered stuff. It's just better now than it was. And this is there's more to this. This program actually has buttons you click and things happen, and where the author website is just displaying a bunch of stuff.
Right.
This actually has like functionality behind it, and it did a fantastic job. By the time I was finished, I was probably 60% of the way done, 65%. I had a thing I could go in. I could select the teams. It takes me to a screen where I put the stats in, and I could enter the stats quickly. The only thing I don't have is the ability to save a game yet, and it needs to be styled better so it looks nicer. Mm-hmm. I wasn't planning on it, but the more I got into it, the more I like, wow, I'm going really fast. This is a lot of fun. And what's funny about this is it reminds me of my previous life that I talk about, because my first job was from like 1996 until 2010, which was a mess that I'll talk about someday. But part of that job was writing stat programs for high school football, basketball, baseball, hockey, whatever teams. And I'm literally doing that again just for me. Right. And I would never try to sell this, believe me. Yeah. But if it worked and it was a web program that I could put a username and password into, I'd probably just throw it out there for free for people who play in the gaming community like I do to use. So that was all day Saturday. It was literally all day Saturday. It was so much fun. It was a lot of fun.
And it probably went by really fast.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
That's, I remember when I used to do a lot of coding, especially in grad school. You'd start in the morning and then you'd look up and it'd be midnight. And where did that whole day go?
Yeah, there were times when before I was getting up early for work, that I would start coding. I'd play around with, it's like 9:30 at night. And by the time you look up, it's 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. And it's the same thing. So yeah, it was so much fun. Even though I did very little coding, actually. It is,
it's kind of an aside, but it is so much easier to get into flow state when coding than it is writing.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
I don't know why.
And it's easier to get kicked out writing too. And I don't know why either, but
yeah. I think as long as I'm making I think it's because maybe you can see the progress better when you're coding.
Yeah.
You're writing the book. You feel like it's good, but maybe it's not. And usually when you're writing a book, at some point you hate it. But as I'm moving along with this, I'm like liking it more and more because I'm thinking about playing this game, and I'm like, I'm really close.
Right.
It's great. So.
And now that I consider it, it's probably because when you're coding, you don't code a whole project before you test anything, so you're getting little dopamine hits all along the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. The number of times you stop and test. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. So that was my Saturday. I didn't do anything in the evening. And then this morning I got up back to Panera. And like I said, I'm excited for golf to start, and it'll be in the next few weeks, next 4 weeks or so, I'm thinking, because again, it'll stop me from having to go to Panera in the morning. And by the time I get home from golf, actually afternoon things will be open. In this area, there's just not a lot of places that feel right for me to sit and write for a couple hours, like Chick-fil-A does, or like Hothead did, which I've been there a long time, but Hothead, Buffalo Wild Wings, all those places that are open at 10:30, 11 o'clock. So,
right.
While I was there, I basically took the plot for 7.5 that I had been happy with earlier in the week on Monday or Tuesday, and began expanding it out into chapters now. And I basically said, let's put this into 15 chapters, and ChatGPT sorted it for me. And then I had to change a bunch of stuff around. I wanted to use the hero's journey and the 3-act structure, although this is more like a villain's journey. I imagine it like Breaking Bad, which I've never actually seen, but I kind of know how that goes. And I was there for about 2.5 hours working out each chapter's plot. The one negative I will say about Novel Crafter is there's not a really good place to sit or to just brainstorm your book, your novel. I want to write characters in here, and I want to put the plot in here. I just want it all in one place so I can move stuff around. I can make changes quickly. And you have your snippet section. I just don't like the way it's. I want a full screen when I'm doing this.
Yeah.
That was one thing about Scrivener. You can just create a new document and boom, you've got a full screen you can just work in. But Novel Crafter doesn't really have that. And I'm not expecting them to create like a plotting tool, but it would be nice if there was just a scribbles place that I could go in and just have a nice, and maybe the snippets do that. I didn't look hard enough, but I really like Google Docs for that. So really, I didn't even go into Novel Crafter. I was just using Google Docs and ChatGPT for this. Because I did a lot of the plotting of this in ChatGPT anyway, and not in Novel Crafter. By the time I was done, I had 15 chapters. Actually, I think I had 14 chapters, and I'd come up with 2 more. And there's just a lot of killing in this book, and it's going to be weird to write. Like I can think of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can think of 6. I think there's at least 7 deaths that we're going to see from the serial killer's point of view in this book. It's going to be weird to write, Rich.
That is a lot. That's a lot.
But it's going to be over like a 2-3 year period. And it's going to be the stuff that overlaps with things that happen in the first 7 books. So.
Right. So is the book, the timeline inside the book is actually going to be a 2 to 3 year period? Is that what you're doing? Yeah. So you're going to show everything
maybe a little longer. Yeah.
You can show everything live as opposed to using flashbacks or some other way to get the information. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, and by the time I left again, I had a really nice outline. And what I did was I expanded a couple of chapters that I want to try to write this week because I want to start working on it tomorrow. And then I came home and, grocery store and all the stuff I did, played my football game, did my dishes, had some dinner, all the stuff that I normally do on a Sunday, did the laundry. And after we're done here, I'm probably just going to go hang out on the couch until time for bed because I have to get up at 5 a.m. for work.
Yeah, nice. Man, it was a productive week though.
It's but not hitting my goal. It certainly was. Yeah.
Yeah, really. Well, my week was it was productive in its own way. Monday I had a day off, so as is normal with my days off, I would spend a lot of time outside in the garden. But I did knock off early, and I came in probably about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and decided I was going to sit down and do some editing. And I did edit a chapter of that first romance novel. And then I decided I wanted to finish that book, The Glamour, that I was talking about earlier, a couple weeks ago, or maybe last week as well. It was an interesting book. It was, like I said, it was supposedly one of the first philosophical / psychological sci-fi stories. At least some people put that in that category. And I hated the ending. Absolutely. Oh, no. I absolutely hated it because you're going through the whole story, and integral to the whole story is that there are people, or there especially one person that you cannot see. People can't see this person, and in the end, I'll spoil it because I don't think anybody should read the book. In the end, we find out this person that the characters in the book can't see is the author of the book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so the author of the book is basically torturing these characters, which authors do. I mean, yeah, that's fine. But it was basically a story within a story, kind of like, it was kind of meta. But I did not like the way it ended at all. It was really weird, really weird.
Yeah, it sounds like that Twilight Zone, the 5 people trapped in a bucket or whatever it is.
Yeah, almost. It was just strange, and to have the thing is that at the very end, it would have been okay probably if there were some hints about this along the way. And maybe in retrospect there were. I could probably go back and point to some places where, if I wasn't caught up on the idea that people consider this to be a sci-fi novel, I may have started asking myself, okay, is this person that people can't see, is this actually the narrator? And that's essentially what it turned out to be. It's the author narrator, who then just kind of manipulates everybody into the ending that he wants, and then goes his merry way, and they go their merry way, like that, So it was weird, but I finished it, so I can say I've read it if it ever comes up in the cocktail lounge. There's something. Tuesday, I had to work on Tuesday. I did get to edit a chapter during the day, but I was busy at work. We had some difficult patrons that I had to deal with. Just people who are mentally challenged, I guess is the way to put it. And some of them are aggressive, some of them are passive, but they're just a trip to have to work with and help them through doing the things that they want to do on the computer. That was after spending the morning, Tuesday morning, which I have off, working on the garden some. But not a whole lot because we have to shift plants around because I think it was Wednesday morning. Now that I think about it, Wednesday morning, we dropped down into the 30s. Hopefully that was the last time. So we had to bring tomato plants. I had to bring them into my shed and kind of protect them from that cold, which wouldn't kill them, but it would probably, stunt them a little bit. I didn't want that to happen. Wednesday, and basically Wednesday through Thursday, did a lot of work at work in terms of library stuff. Built up a 30-book collection of poetry because April is National Poetry Month, and started writing blurbs for each of these poetry books so I can put up a display. And then got an email message from my branch manager, saying, "Hey, wouldn't it be really great because apparently there's a week in April that's Library Week, National Library Week. Wouldn't it be great to have a bunch of books on display that have library in the title?" So,
how many of those are there?
Well, actually, there's probably quite a few. I really haven't started looking, but I know of a number of library cozy mystery series.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go with it. Yeah.
And so it's probably going to lean heavily into that when I get around to doing it. But I haven't gone there yet because I got those 30 blurbs to do. I'm probably about halfway done with the blurbs. So I was putting all that together on Wednesday and Thursday. I also spent some time shopping on Land's End for no particular reason other than the fact that it's getting warm and I don't have enough short sleeve shirts to wear to work. So
I've told you in the past that when, in 1997 in my previous life, we were all 3 different places, the people for this company, and the guy who was the owner or CEO of Land's End at the time actually bought our small little company and moved us all to Florida, and that's how I ended up in Florida for.
Oh, is that right?
Months.
Oh,
yeah, Dave Dyer was his name. Yeah,
oh, interesting. Yeah. Anyways, I spent $100 on Land's End and it was 60% off. So I actually had $250 worth of shirts and stuff, which will probably take me through the summer anyways.
There you go.
Friday I had off. Saturday I had off. Both those days, spent a lot of time outdoors, but also spent some time indoors later in the day. Number one, getting another chapter edited for that first romance. And then I fell into, like you fell into the black hole of coding, I fell into the black hole of starting to develop that third romance story in this series. And it was really fun. I've been having a lot of fun going back and forth with not ChatGPT, but with Claude Sonnet. And like I said, it's much better than what it has been. However, it may be because, now that I think about it, because through this GPT that the Future Fiction Academy has, you can get down into the nitty gritty of all the settings, the top K, the temperature, the repetition penalties, and all that. So I'm basically cranking a lot of those way, way down so that when I ask it a question or ask it to write me something, it is not dumping a bunch of purple prose on me. Mm-hmm. It becomes very much more structured and logical than what just the raw Claude models are. And I bet that's probably part of the reason why it's working so much better than what it did before when I was actually going through Anthropic to use Claude. But you can't adjust settings when you do it that way.
So I didn't know. I don't know much about those settings. Mm-hmm. And then I saw, I was watching the Novel Crafter channel. She does stuff a couple days a week. She does live videos. Mm-hmm. And she had just mentioned what she changed 3.72. And I went, let me change that. And then I started kind of looking into what they mean. And I'm like, I didn't know you could adjust those things.
Right.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And you can fine tune it to do the kind of, get the kind of feedback that you want, basically. Do you want something real out there and crazy just to spur your imagination? Well, you can do that. You can crank those settings way up so that you can actually crank up. And I did this just to play with it one time. You can crank up the temperature on those models so that it'll start off a paragraph making sense. But by the time it gets to the end of the paragraph, all it's doing is putting out random words together.
Yeah,
You know?
right.
So, yeah.
It looks like the lorem ipsum text.
Yeah,
See.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly like that. So anyways, I got quite a ways yesterday and Friday on working on plotting that third novel. I'm going to work on it some more this coming week, I'm sure. Today it was church in the morning, came home, and I started, since we're not going to have any more cold nights, started putting out my tomatoes finally in their spots. A lot of these tomatoes are already have little tiny tomatoes on them, even though they haven't been in the ground. So get them in the ground, get them growing, and hopefully we'll have some good harvest. Did harvest yesterday a bunch of greens, kale, and lettuce and spinach. Had a big salad. Today I harvested a bunch of sugar snap peas, and I've got some asparagus, and we're going to have like a vegetable stir fry later after I'm done here. And yeah, that's basically my week. It was, a lot of work at the library, some writing, made some progress, not as much as I hoped to, but I didn't do nothing, which is good. So
yeah.
Although I think I'm coming up now, we're coming up on the end of March, and I think by the time I get to the end of March, I will not have written any new words for the year. I'm sorry, for the month. Yeah, for the month.
Okay.
Yeah, so
because you've been editing and
I've been editing, plotting, right?
Yeah.
I'm actually been losing words, but I don't count that off the new word list. So I am reverting to the mean. I have the first couple of months I was just blazing in terms of writing new words, but I'm reverting back to the mean now. So. And let's see. I don't know. I don't have anything new on my running list of future things to do. Just the same old stuff. I have been taking 1 or 2 classes within the Future Fiction Academy. I'm still getting enough out of it to pay that $160 a month to stay in it. So I'm still feeling comfortable with that. Good. So at some point I probably won't, but right now it's helping me out a lot. So
yeah, my run list of future things to do. Nothing new. In fact, I'm going to delete the section on thinking about my book covers now that I've gotten a new cover. The only thing that I haven't done with him is I never asked him for paperback versions. It's literally just ebook. So I'm going to have to go into that order form again and email him and wait for his response on how to pay for it and all that good stuff. But I need to get paperback because I do want to have paperbacks of even though they're just, these are ebooks that I'm just going to give away. The novella, actually each of the 3 are probably going to give away. Actually, I don't know yet, but probably if they were, I still want to have paperback versions of them that I could put into a paperback box set or just have on my shelf. I have my first one right here, and I'd want others too, just to have on my shelf. So
right. So I mean, you could. I don't see why you couldn't actually have the, give away the ebook version and actually have the physical print books available for sale. I mean, there's
Yep. Yeah. So all right. So let me just delete the cover stuff, and I'm down to just 2 things, which are the Instagram style ad that I kind of want to make. I keep seeing those now popping up in my reels where I'm just seeing the author stuff that sometimes I don't realize it's an ad for a book until halfway through it. I'm reading along going, oh, what's this going to be about? Oh, it's an author. Gotcha. I think that's really interesting. And then I still want to do drawings for each book that I want to stick in the front of each book. So, and that's way down the road.
I haven't actually seen any of those since I dumped Facebook a little while ago. And Instagram along with it. Are they kind of catchy, those ads? I guess so.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they know what they're doing. Oh, they know what they're doing. Yeah, they're not simple, hey, a murder was committed. It's like, hey, I was driving down a dark road one night and so there was someone following me and I'm like, oh God, what's going to happen here? And then it's like, check it out in my book. And I'm like, oh, come on. Yeah. God. It's, it's really good. So my addicted to is a legit addiction to. It's not something that's not an addiction. It's gambling. A lot of college basketball, sports betting in the last 3 and 4. I got bets going on right now and the game's up in front of me. I haven't done that well. I mean, I've managed to turn my $100 so far into like $50, which is not really that hard, but it's taken me a couple days to do it. But
well, the question is gambling an addiction or is it just a way of life? So, for you, I think it's kind of a way of life.
I think it depends on if you're winning or not.
Well, that could be, yeah.
And then also, I for kicks today, the UFL, remember the Spring Football League? The UFL starts off next Friday, this coming Friday. Friday night, there's 4 games a week, and they're all on TV, like ESPN, Fox, CBS Sports, and there's another one. They all have games, and they're they're spread out. Like there's a Friday night, a Saturday night. There might be two on a Sunday, but they're all spread out. So I Googled today UFL fantasy football because I really want to watch it, but I can't watch it unless I have something to root for.
Right.
And it was really, really hard to find. Nobody's doing this. I found this one website that kind of looks like it's a legit site, and I signed up. And I checked right before we started, and there's only 6 teams in a league, and all 6. I was the 4th, and I thought this is never going to fill, and it's already filled. So we have 6 teams. We have a draft that's scheduled for Friday night at like 9 p.m. Eastern, but the first game is Friday night at like 7 p.m. Eastern or 8 p.m. So we can't really do it then. We got to do it before that. So we'll see what happens. But I found that's the other problem is couldn't tell you one player. Well, I could tell you one player, Kellen Mond, but I couldn't tell you any other players in the league. So I found a cheat sheet that somebody put out. I found it on Reddit. It was a link to a Twitter that was a link to a Google Doc that I couldn't print or copy and paste. It's like, well, I have to open it. I'm not going to open your Google Doc when my draft happening. So I took screenshots of each page and then pasted them into Word. And now I have my own copy that I can just print out and have with me. So I'm very excited about this. There's no money involved. So I'm sure there's people that aren't going to care. And it's not going to be as fun as it was if everybody put like $50 in the hat and winner took all or something like that. But I'm just excited to like draft some players. So I have players to watch each week. And then we'll see if I watch it. I'm going to mix it in with golf because I like watching golf. And we'll see how the summer goes. It's a 10-week season, so it'll go, basically through the middle of June, I think. And we'll see how it goes. It should be fun.
Is this indoor or outdoor?
This is outdoor. This is basically the XFL, the USFL.
Oh, okay.
This is the UFL. Okay. This was the XFL and the other one that tried to come up a couple of years ago. They merged. And then I think like Dwayne Johnson bought it or something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so I was wondering if this was his. I knew he was into some of this. Mm-hmm. Too much money on his hands.
Definitely. Yeah.
My addicted to this past week, I stumbled onto the fact that they had actually dropped the 3rd season of a series that I'd watched the first 2 seasons before COVID, and they had started filming the 3rd series and had to stop filming because everything shut down with COVID. And I think they had a couple of episodes filmed. And it's called the Mallorca Files. Mallorca. I keep on trying to say those L's as English, but no.
Mallorca.
Yeah, the Mallorca Files. But the reason I didn't see it when they actually dropped is because previously it had been on BritBox. Now it's on Prime.
Oh, okay.
Through, what is it, Freevee or whatever it is, where you have to watch commercials. So that's why I missed it. But we've been watching an episode a day all week, and I've been arguing with my wife about whether one of the side characters has actually changed. My wife thinks she's either had a stroke or had cosmetic surgery, and I say I don't see any difference in her at all. And so it's been a little bit interesting, but yeah, that's been my addicted to. I really enjoy that show, and I don't know if it's going to go beyond this 3rd season or not. I wish it would. But
I watched, typically like I do, I watched about the first 40 minutes of the first episode. It was the one that's the one where the cop was protecting a guy in an airport. Yeah, okay. So I watched up until the point that they were on a golf course.
Okay, yep.
And then I'm like, I think I'm good. And just never went back to it. I don't know why I do that, but that's what I do. So,
well, I like the kind of, well, there's that kind of, actually there's like almost like a love triangle in that story. The romance subplot's very big, and it's not a full blown love triangle because the 2 cops, at least up to this point, have never actually gotten together. Okay. And the male protagonist actually, up to this point, has had a really hot girlfriend. And but she has just, after this last episode I watched, has just left for a new job in Buenos Aires, in Spain somewhere. I can't remember what. And so now that she's out of the picture, it'll be interesting to see if the 2 cops get together.
There you go. All right, so coming up this week for me, actually, it should be a pretty normal week for me. And in fact, Rich, I am going to try to take the next 3 months, April, May, and June, no vacation days, no work from home days. There are no holidays until Memorial Day at the end of May. And we're just going to see what happens if I can just do that, because if I do that, when July 1st rolls around, it leaves me every half a day Friday the rest of the year, along with 2.5 other days to do what I want with. And that is me not going to Vegas now. I'm kind of off of Vegas for now in for the fantasy football leagues. I can do those high stakes leagues from home. I don't have to be in Vegas to do them. And Vegas is just pricing me out of going there. It's getting so expensive.
Right.
I remember when I went last year, but I think I went last week, a year ago. So a year and a week ago. And I was at Mandalay Bay, which isn't one of the fancy ones anymore. It's kind of run down a little bit. And the breakfast buffet was like $69 and the dinner buffet was like $79, something like that. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It used to be $25 when I was going there 10 years ago. So,
and even that's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's not the only thing. I mean, everything's expensive now there. It used to be, we're going to not charge you for all this stuff. So you come and give all your money to our casino. And now it's like, come and give all your money to our casino. Oh, and everything's really expensive.
Yeah.
And it's
they're kind of turning it into like a Disneyland kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, that place is expensive too.
Yeah, Disneyland for adults.
Yeah, right. And it's just, so I don't have to go. I can still do the 2 leagues I want. I can do them online. I don't have to be there in person. Then it saves me vacation days. It would save me lots of money because I would take money to gamble with, and it would save me money losing it. So that's good. So I if I don't go to Vegas, that gives me every Friday starting July 6th or 7th, whatever that Friday is, the rest of the year. I'd have with the exception of like Labor Day when there's a holiday on a Monday, and that would be considered my day off that Monday instead of taking the day on Friday. So, so I think that's kind of what I'm planning for the next 3 months is just have normal weeks. So, that means I'll start writing book 7.5 this week. I'll start writing it tomorrow. I don't expect this one to take very long. I'm thinking maybe 3 weeks, if everything goes well, maybe 3 weeks, maybe a fourth, but that's what I'm shooting for. So tomorrow and Tuesday, I'm back in the office. I'll write at lunch both days. I'll start on this book. Wednesday, working from home on this day. And then, I'll try to head to the library at lunchtime. Thursday, I'm in the office. I'll write at lunch. Friday, I'm working from home. And that UFL Fantasy Football League is that night. Also, there's a game that night, so I'm going to check that out in the evening. And then the weekend, at some point in the weekend, I'm going to start golfing on Saturdays and Sundays really early like I have in the past, which means I'm going to do afternoon writing sessions after golf. But for now, until that starts, I'm going to do Saturday Chick-fil-A, run some errands, play my football game. Sunday, same thing, Panera in the morning, and then groceries like always, errands, clean the house, podcast, and play my football game when I have time. That's kind of what the weeks are going to look like going forward, depending on anything changing. But right now, that's what I'm shooting for is three straight months of no vacation days, which as many I've been taking the last year and a half, it's going to be tough. It's really going to be tough. So, yeah. And then my goal during that time, again, doing the math, 1,000 words on work days, lunch break work days, 1,500 for days that I'm not in the office writing and I can write for longer. That would equal 7,000 words into book 7.5, which I'm shooting for that to be like the first, 3, 4, 5 chapters. This should be a 25,000 word book, which is about 100 pages. So 3 weeks would be nice, but probably going to get into the 4th week. But for next week, 7,000 words is what I'm at.
Well, me, I'm working at the library Monday through Saturday this coming week. The opposite of you, though, I've been looking at my schedule going forward and figuring out how I can take more vacation days and break up these long weeks that I have. Like I've got a 6-day week coming up, but then I'll have only a 4-day week, but then I'll have a 7-day week after that. Oh. And I'm starting to think that, I want to break these 6 and 7-day weeks up. I don't know how that's going to go over with my supervisor, but I've been trying to figure out if I can work my vacation time like that or not. When I'm not working at work, which sounds weird, but if I'm not working at the library, I'm going to try to cram in some editing and outlining this week. I'm going to concentrate on the outlining since I'm kind of in a flow state with that. And then later, towards the end of the week, I will kick back into editing of Romance 1 before I start actually writing on that third romance novel. And
Rich, you're not a plotter. I don't know if you know that about you, but you're not a plotter. But
I am not a plotter. But the thing is, I don't really have to plot when you're doing it with cooperative work with the LLM. You could say, I know the structures I want because I know what I need. I know the tropes that I want. And I basically ask it for, okay, so suggest, what scenes do I need? Where do they need to be? No, I don't like that. Let's do something else. So I don't really have to plot. I have to critique their plots. So right. Or its plot. So that works out better for me, I think. Now, whether or not I can keep to that while I'm writing, I have no idea. Probably not. Probably not. It'll probably be one of these deals where I start writing and I go off track by the end of the first chapter, and then I have to do something different. Go back to and try to restructure the rest of the outline. I also have a long list of gardening things to do.
Okay.
I got a bunch of plants still that need to be put in the ground. And luckily there is about an hour and a half, but when I get home in the evening, of daylight right now, and it's only going to get longer. So I think I'm going to do a lot of that gardening is going to switch into, instead of my days off, switch into the evenings on the days that I work. But it's going to be tough because I tell you what, spring fever has really hit me hard. I don't know if you have that or not, but
what is that? Like, what is your definition?
Spring rolls around and I feel like sleeping all the time.
No, I don't have that.
Yeah, I think it's partly the allergies and the pollen. You know, like right now, the hood of my pickup truck, which is silver gray, is yellow because there's so much pollen dropping out of the trees.
Wow! So that'll hit me in like May.
Yeah,
the pollen will hit me hard in May when I'm golfing. It's not here yet.
Yeah, so we're getting that now. So I've been trying to push through it. I've been drinking more coffee than I probably should. The creatine I've been taking has helped a lot. It kind of gives you a little bit of a pickup during the day. And I think I mentioned last week that I had joined the local athletic club. And I actually, during the week, I forgot to mention, I went 3 times and worked out at lunch. Yeah, so I think that's going to work out, especially since it's just across the street, 5 minutes. I can be there. I got enough time to work in a 30 to 40-minute workout and get cleaned up and back at work before people miss me. So, yeah, that's pretty good. And I really don't, other than that, I really don't have anything to share.
You're taking away from your like editing time, right?
Well, that's true. That's true. The stuff I would be doing at lunch, although, to be honest, my lunch times, the way it works, it has worked recently anyways, is I'm on that public desk all morning. By the time I hit lunch, I don't want to do anything. I just want to veg for a little bit. And my vegging is usually hitting YouTube and seeing, what I've watched already 15 times and watching it again.
I don't have anything to share, but I will say that during I've been looking over to the right here because I'm looking at my ChatGPT from this morning when I was plotting this. There were a couple of chapters I was trying to work out with the AI I wanted to do for this. And it was weird because ChatGPT was getting a little more friendly with me. Like, for example, let me go back down to where it was. Oh man, I just had it. Here we go. So I wrote, what if there was some, so it gave me something in there and I just said, and I don't like that. I said, what if there was some kind of fake out? So let's say there's an extra chapter. We'll move the events of chapter 13 to 14. And then for 12, we'll have him do those things, then make the call. He's excited as the police show up without Sam. Then he has to do something in chapter 13 to get Sam involved. ChatGPT wrote, oh, hell yes. That's the kind of layered tension this story thrives on. Yeah. So like, oh, hell yes. Yeah. It actually did that a few times and that made me laugh. There was a word that it used and I didn't write it down earlier, but I was trying to find it really quick and I'm disappointed that I can't find it right now. But it used a word that I was like, oh, wait, did you just say that? It was very funny. And ChatGPT was so friendly with me today. It was weird.
I have this sneaking suspicion, and it's probably, you could put this under a heading of a conspiracy theory, that there are no LLMs. There's just people in third world countries banging away on computers as we submit these questions.
I like to think that you're right. I think the call centers, like in India and some of the other countries, have been replaced by people who are just pretending to be ChatGPT. Right. I really think that's true. Oh man, I can't believe I can't find this word. I'm so sad. It was so funny and I don't remember what it was, but it was like a word that I would never expect the AI to use. And I just can't find it right now. But boy, did it like everything I did today. Yeah, I can't find it. It's way down. It's down here somewhere. But anyway, so that was, but the funny that it just kept saying, oh, hell yes. In fact, at some point, I asked it for a summary of a chapter and it said something like, let me see if I can find it really quick here. One of the points that it gave me, where's my book? So here it is. Okay, so here's my Google Doc. And if I go right, I wonder if I can search because I know what word I'm looking for. Oh, there it is. So it said, I have what I call a fake out. I have the serial killer is going to watch Sam's girlfriend at some point. Like the serial killer is going to be like watching them at dinner, obsessed with Sam. And as they split, the reader thinks, oh, it's going to go with Sam, but it goes with her.
Ooh.
And it follows her. So it summarized it by saying a terrifying fake out. Here's all the plot. And then at the very bottom, it says reader's reaction. Oh shit, is he going to kill Danny? And it's like, what are you doing? ChatGPT, you never swear. Like, it was just so funny that it's become like super friendly with me now. It's just made me laugh.
It was a not safe for work version.
Yeah, apparently. And that's not how ChatGPT is. So
yeah.
It's weird. I just wish I could find this word because now it's bothering me that I can't think of what it was. And I laughed so hard in the middle of Panera this morning while I was sitting here. I was like, wait, it just used that word? And I'm going to have to find it and bring it up for next week or maybe I'll make it the title of the podcast so I can find it, just so people know.
One thing I found when I was kind of scrolling through all the classes and stuff in Future Fiction Academy, I don't know if do you know Steph Pajonas?
No.
Okay. She's a writer. She's one of the principals in the Future Fiction Academy. Anyways, she did a whole section or a whole study of all the different models and what you could get them to write for you, what you could get them to say.
Okay.
And then she created this big table and of what are the models that you want to use if you're interested in not safe for work stuff, which I thought was really interesting. I mean, she tried to get it to do all these different violence stuff and all this different sex acts and all this stuff and I guess the conclusion of her is that if you want to do violence and if you want to do sex in your books, you got to use Mythamax.
Mythamax.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm still looking here, and I could be looking for hours, so we probably should just end here. I'll try to find it, and if so, I'll throw it in the title of the podcast so everyone knows what it is. And that's gonna be it, everyone. If you want to get in touch with us, email me jerry@jerryevanoff.com. Website is jerryevanoff.com. We're on Patreon. We're on YouTube. We're on all your different podcasting apps, depending on how you're watching or listening to us.
Yeah, and you can find me at my email address, which is rich@richcacy.com. And I'm also on Blue Sky at Kacy himself.
All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll talk to you all next week.
Yeah, have a great week.